Hello and welcome to another CocoBase tutorial. On this one, we'll be building a student management system and it's going to be a full CRUD application. So here's a quick demo. So I enter a name, Philip, and his age will be 22. Then his score, so I'll put something like 90 and click create student. So you can see down there it created the student Philip, and I can also edit the student, and let's say edit the name to something like underscore 121, then click on update student, and if you check down you'll see that it has been updated. So we can also delete the student. So all these are what we are going to be building on this tutorial, so stay tuned.
So this what you are seeing here is the UI of what we are going to be building. Like, there is no functionality, it's just the direct React code, the JSX code. So these are the functions we are going to be writing the CocoBase logic in, and we'll be installing it and the rest of that. So what I would advise you do now is to check around this video, probably the description of the video. You see a link to this GitHub repository where you can just clone the repository or fork the repository and let's say get a copy of it, so you can continue with me by building this student management system. So that being said, let's proceed to the tutorial. So we'll be using this form to create the student and also to update the student. So let's dive right in. So what we want to do, first of all, by checking the code, you see that the student, his name, age, score, and gender are being saved inside of a useState variable. We say transform data, set from data is equals to useState, and every other thing is saved there. So we have our create student function. So inside of here, let's console.log our form data. Okay, so and remember that this function will be called whenever they click on create student. So what I'm just going to do, come here, let's say I want to create another function for this. I'll say const handle create student. So it will be equals to an arrow function. So it will just call this our create student function. So then our button. So remember I said that this form will be used in creating and updating our students. So let's just call this handle create and update. It's looking too long, but let's just leave it like that. So where is the button? This is the button. So say on click on this button. Currently, if you click on the button, it will just show this dummy alert, which is this text we are seeing here. So I'll just remove that. Remove it. So on click on this button, it should call our handle create user, handle create update user function, and this our handle create update user will call our create student. So inspect, check our console, then let's empty it. So let's fill the form. So enter age here, then age of 12, then score of 22, then gender me. By clicking on this button, exactly, so you can see it's calling the function and it's console.logging. It's perfect. So remember, what we'll do first is that you know that some user might want to create a student knowing fully well that this is empty. So to prevent something like that, we'll come here and write the logic for it. We'll say const. So when I console.log form data, I got an object of the name, age, and score. So what I can just do to get everything once, I'll destructure is equals to form data. So I'll just grab the name, the age, the email, and the gender. Save. I'll say if not name. Let's say this I don't enter any name, and if not age. So you're supposed to use this for it is JavaScript. If not name or not age or not email or not gender. So what we're going to use for this, we'll be using Coco Alert for this. So if you don't know about Coco Alerts, I advise you watch our previous video where we'll cover how to use the Coco Alerts. So we'll just install it. To install the Coco Alert, just do npm install Coco Alert. Okay, it has been installed previously. So for that, I'll come here and the alert container. So all this has been covered in the previous video about the Coco Alerts. So if not name, age, email, and gender, we'll just do cocoalert.error, say all inputs, or let's use feeds, are required. So if there's an error in the name, age, email, you just run that. So going back to the code, and when we refresh, so when the user click on create students, you see all fields are required because of course they are empty. So if they are not empty, then we need to create the CocoBase instance and create the students. So we'll come here, and this is the place where we'll create the student record. So and for this we'll be using the try and catch block. We'll say const. Okay, so up next I'll create a new file and call this utils.js. so this is where I'll create the CocoBase instance. So make sure you have installed the CocoBase SDK. If you have not, just use npm install CocoBase, then press enter. So inside of here I'll say const db is equals to new CocoBase. It's like I've not installed it here, so press enter. I'll wait for it to install. So while it's installing, we'll just head on to the CocoBase website, which is this, and create a new project. I'll call this student underscore db, then allow origins. I'll leave it as empty and click on create. So we have the API key and the project ID. I'll just copy the API key, then head on to our we've installed the CocoBase, so we can just do CocoBase. So we need to provide the API key is equals to, let's leave it as empty for now, then project ID will also be there. So what you might want to do in real life scenario, I would advise you create a .env file, then press enter. So I'll say vat, I'll call this vat underscore CocoBase API key is equals to, then paste the API key. So the next one will be underscore CocoBase project ID. So let's head on to the website and copy the project ID, then replace it here. So place it here. So heading back to this place, we'll come right here and say API key is equals to import dot meta dot then CocoBase API key. Then same thing with the byte. We'll come here and say the project ID is equals to import dot meta dot. I think we need to add the import dot meta dot env dot env. So we need to export, say export default db. Save. So this db now will now represent our CocoBase instance. So meaning we can create documents and it will be saved on this project, which is our student project we created on the CocoBase website. So if we create any collection or any document to be saved on this particular place. So going back to our app.jsx, okay, so come here now and say const new student is equals to db, which will import dot create document. So we'll call this document students, then comma, it takes an object of what we want to create. We'll pass in the name. Let me just copy this. So I would like to have a loading state. So const loading student comma set loading student, say equals to use states, and the default will be false. So whenever they are creating, we say set, we say set loading student to true. As when we want to create the students, we should set it to true. Then after creating it, it will be saved on this variable. Then we just, if we have any error, then do the cocoalert.error, then something went wrong. So if there's an error, it will just console something went wrong, then comma the error message. So finally, we'll set loading student to false. Okay, so let's go over what we did. So the function that creates students, it takes the name from the form data, everything. Then if any of them are empty, it will alert. Then henceforth it will go ahead to create the record. It will first of all set loading to true, then const new student is equals to db.create document students, then to take the name, age, email, and gender. So I want to have another variable here. I'll say const an array of students, comma set students equals to use state, and is equals to an empty array. So after creating the student, we'll say set student to our new student, or since this is an empty array, so the student will be created, we don't want it to populate the state. We want it to, like, if there's a student or there already, you should just add to it. Like, you add the newly created student to the array. So for that, we'll be saying set student to the previous student that was there. So take all the previous students and pass in our created student. Then after that, just alert student created successfully. Save. Okay, so let's go ahead and test this, but before we do that, we need to handle our loading state. So on the button, which is this button that creates the student, so I think we need to work with this icon. If we go head back to the code, okay, we need to work with this icon. So just open this and say it's loading student. Loading student if true, meaning if it's true, if it's loading, then I think there is a loading icon from loader from Lucid React. Then S, it will show this. So let's use a class name. For it to spin, we need to use the tailwind animate spin. Yes. So if it's loading, it will show the loader and it will be spinning. S, it will just show the save. Then Lucid React, yes. Okay, so heading back to the code, let's test it. So I'll enter a name like John Israel, then his age is 12, then his score is 70, then gender is me, create student. Oh, we're having an error. Oh, sorry. So we can't just use this create student directly. If we are to use this db.create document, it's an asynchronous function. It returns a promise, so we can't just do it directly. We need to use the await, because it takes time, take a few seconds for it to create it, so we need to wait for it while it's creating. So then we need to set this function to an asynchronous function. Okay, so going back, let's check our and see if it went ahead to create anything. Let's check the CocoBase website. Oh, as you can see, I think it created it. But clicking on it, is there any data there? Oh yes, there is. So it actually went ahead to create the record on our CocoBase database, as you can see directly here. So what we do is I will just create a new student. So come here and see, this one will be Max. Then let's say Max will be 22 years old. Then score will be 60. Then I think 22 is a bit too far. Let's make it 15. We're having the error of fees are required. And it was also created successfully. Wait, let me see. If not name, age. Let's check our database. Reload. Sorry for that. Okay, it was created successfully. We had this Max here. And what I want to do is that at this point, after creating, let's set our form data to an empty object. That's after creating. So let's verify something to see if we can get the issue. Name, age, score. Okay. Oh. So this is the reason why it was showing that error. that if we click on create student, it will show, okay, let me see, it will show what fields are required, because we had this core here, this a, and so I'll just replace that with score. Okay, so checking our CocoBase website, I think we should just delete all the record we have here and redo it again. It has been deleted successfully, so it's empty now. Okay, so reload, then let's create our first student. Say his name will be Israel, then age will be 12, then score will be 55, gender is me. Then click on create student, then we get the loading. Perfect. So student created successfully, so meaning the student was created. So if we check, if we check the CocoBase and reload, let's see if the student was actually created. Yes, it was. So I think we need to delete these marks. We don't need this one here. We can delete this. Okay, so the create function is working very fine. Let's check something. So let me explain what we did. So the create user function, it will get the name, age from our form data. If any of them is empty, it will show an error that they are required. Then it will proceed. To create the student. It will set our loading state true. And remember that on the form, if our loading state is true, it will show the loader S, it will show the save button. So created student is equals to await db.create document where we're passing the name, age, score, and gender. So set our student to previous student. Say take the previous student, meaning if student already exists, just combine it with the new one we are creating, then alert student created successfully. So that's what's going on there. Then after student created successfully, I think it needs to empty the form data state here. Yes. Okay, so reloading. Let's try that one more time. Let's see, fever, then age is 18, I see 19, then score is 60. Let's make the gender female this time. Then click on create student. Okay, created successfully. If we check and if we reload, okay, you can see that her record has been created. Okay, so we'll need to list the students, because this is a place that shows all the students that we've created. So that's what we'll be doing next, listing of students. So we have the function for that already. Say const load student is equals to an asynchronous function. So inside of this place, we'll come here and say const student is equals to await db dot list documents. Then the name of the document we are listing is students. So this, let's put it inside the try and catch. So after listing it, just console.log the students. Then we need to put this function inside the use effect. So we'll create a use effect hook here, use effects, then empty array. So whenever this component mount, it should run our load student function. So our load student function, we just do db.list document. List document is used to list the document in the collection. Inside our student collection, to list the list of like the whole student we have inside this collection, and it will console.log it. So if there's an error, it will just console.log the error, then inspect, reload. Okay, let's wait for it. Okay, perfect. So as you can see, it has listed the students and placed it in on an array, which is very nice. Checking our console, you can see it there. So what we do directly is I will come here and say set student to our, say take the previous, then so instead of me writing this again, we have it already here, so I'll just use the same code. So take the previous student, then add our new student that we got. Save. So going back, then if we console.log the okay, remember that the students are supposed to be listed here. So Ctrl F V key. So this is the table we'll be working with. So let's uncomment this table. Okay, so it shows a dummy student which is John Doe. So we have to remove that. So I think everything starts from this TR. So come here now and see, open JavaScript. Our students dot length, if it's greater than 0, if true, then say our students dot map. So remember that we are getting an array whenever we fetch the students. So you can see it here, we are getting an array, and let me zoom in, and inside of this array we have an object at index 0 whereby we have the dot data, we have the age, gender, name, and score. So since this will be saved inside our student variable, because on this our load student, after getting it we are just populating it to our student variable. So meaning this place that displays the student, we are saying if our student dot length is greater than 0, meaning if it exists, since it's an array we can use the map method for it. So we say take one student, then just return this, then s, so return this HTML, then s we can return a, then if it does not exist we can return loading students, then we'll call our loader, or let me put it here, loader from Lucid React, class name, say animate spin. So you can see it's loading students, and let's put this text inside the span tag. Say dot flex item center justify center. Okay, so it will map and take. Okay, know what will happen? Let's just console.log the students. So it will map through the students we are getting when we load. Let me close this, our create student form. So whenever we load this our students, db.list document students, so if we get it, it will just add it to our use state. Then on our use state we are just running a sanity check to make sure the length is greater than 0. Then the length is greater than 0, it will take the students, which is the array of everything, then it will map them. The map method, if you don't know, it's used to loop through an array and return the items in the array. So say take one of the items in the array and just console.log it. So heading back to our browser, when we reload, so if you check, it's loading. Okay, perfect. As you can see, it returns the array, and this from line 259. Perfect, 259. So it's working. At index 0 we have the dot data. So what we do here, instead of having the name, we can just say our student dot data dot, let's see, student dot data dot name. So this one will be student dot data dot gender, then why this one will be student dot data dot score, why this will be student dot data dot age. Perfect. So Let's reload. Loading students, and it has displayed the students, but we're having John Doe. Let's check our console. Students.map. Students.data.name. Well, let's try that again. Reload. It's loading students. Okay, we're having an issue, so you cannot access property of name. Student.data is undefined. But when we console.log the students, we got this, and it's an object where we have the data. Then why is it not saying undefined? So let's try and do dot data. We are still getting undefined. So wait. Load students. Student equals to individually document students. So set students. Oh wait. Since we are having two items in the array, so let's just spread over the second item because it's more than one, so we can't just append it directly. Okay, so it ought to work now. Reload. Okay, but this time I think it's over duplicating. Let's check our wait, I think this issue might be from our React strict mode. Let's comment this, because you know that on React, if you are running your code, like if you are coding on dev mode, React tends to run your code multiple times, like 2 times. So you might notice that if you console.log something to run 2 times, so it's because of this strict mode. If you comment it out, it will fetch once, but let's just leave it the way it is. Then if we are to leave it, then meaning we'll just need to set student directly, because yes, no need for us, that is actually correct, no need for us to combine both of them together, because of course we are getting it from the database, so we just want to render it directly. So reload. It's loading the students and it's getting it from database and displaying it. So up next we need to work on this edit student functionality. See, so the loading of students is working. So let's see. So start editing. I think that function. It's loading the students. It will be controlled by, let's look for all students. So if you check very well, you see we've got an edit button, which is this one. Clicking on edit students, which is this. So come here and say, click on the edit students. It should run our, what's the name of the function we have there? Start. It should run our start editing student, and of course, well, let's leave it that way. So what does our start editing student do? Okay, it will take the students. So we need to pass in the students, but we will need the data. We don't, the name and the student's name, the student's age, the student's name and the student's age are inside the dot data. So meaning if we want to edit, we need to pass in student dot data. So to get the whole student, inside of this edit button, we'll come here now and let's set our form to student. I think we're having an error. Okay. Let's put it inside the function. So by clicking on this icon, it's working. Reload. So we click on this favor, edit, it will add it to the form. Like it will get the student data and you just set it directly from use state, set form data to the students. So if you set it, remember that everything is working dynamic, so it will actually fill out the input feed. But we need a way to manage this button state. Oh, it's great. It's going to go and create the student again. I think we'll need to delete that one, but let's leave it for now. We need a way to manage this updating of students. So let's check this button that creates students. List of students, create an update. Okay, so checking the form. Okay, we have a variable, is editing if it's true to show update, else to show create. Okay, so I think we can work with this is editing variable. So let's say once the person wants to edit any student, it will set is editing true. Okay, so whenever I click on start editing, which is this icon, then let's use cocoalerts.sources. Let's use the .info. Then the message will be a backtips. Let's see about to edit. Then let's enter the person name to be student dot name. About to edit the student's name. Then we can add. It should be very fast for 1 second. And again, if you don't understand what I'm doing here, check our previous video on the Cocoa Alert and how it works. So by clicking on this edit, about to edit favor, then we have her name, age and score, so we can now update students. So, and remember that these are our handle updates. What we'll do here, we'll come here and say it's editing. If it's editing, if I is editing, if it's editing is true, then else. If it's editing is true, then meaning we'll need to update the student. If it's true, update student, call our update student function. And what does it do? Say const updated student equals to await db.update. Remember, update document comes from CocoBase. An asynchronous function. db.update document comes from CocoBase. So after updating the student, what should he do? Just load students. Let's use the try and catch to handle error. Say try. Then if there's any error, just console.log the error. So I hope you understand what we're doing here. So by reloading, we've got the listing of the students, and clicking on this our students, this edit icon under the action. So by clicking on this icon, what does it do? It just takes our students dot data, then it alerts about to edit the person's name, then it sets our is editing to true, and if our is editing is true, then what does it do? It show update students, then it also displays our cancel button. And remember that the whole button that runs everything, which is this our handle create underscore update student, if it's edited is true, it will update, then else to create. So let's try and update favor to, let's say, a name like Vera, and click on update. Let's set loading true. Say set is loading student to true. Let's do it on the update students. Then finally set to false. Let's reload and edit the student. So change her name to Vera, then click on update. Then let's reload again. It's not being updated. Let's check our console. So change the name. Okay, sorry, we've not actually entered any ID here. The update document, it takes the collection ID, the document ID, and the data we want to update. So the first collection ID is the name. See, we want to update our students, then comma. Oh, we need to provide the ID. If you check console, you see that each data has an ID, which is this ID here, and we have our data, our ID, the ID of that particular student. If you check CocoBase, you see that each student has an ID, but the ID is not included here. This is the ID. It's outside the data object, meaning on this our start editing, we should not add the dot data. We should just pass in only the student. Then you can come here and say const student is equals to let's see sd dot data. Then let's say we're accepting the sd. So these are using student, which is correct. Then our update student will also need the the thing is that our update student will also need the student record, and if you check very well, the only way we can get it is from this student ID. Since our student ID is null, then this place we are setting it to true. Let's just set it to our SD, so that on this student ID you just pass it in directly. Then our update student will take the student ID, then we comma dot ID, because this what is getting is actually the whole data and not the ID. Remember, our start edit will give us everything, not just the ID. So that's what we're working with. Then comma, then we need to provide the form data, then which is almost similar to what we did with the create. So I'll just copy this. That's for the edit, and paste it here. No, let's do it at the top. So get us on the form data, then just add comma, then pass in everything there. Okay, so go back to our code, and since we have favor, let's edit this. Change our name to something like Vera, then update student. Perfect, you can see it has been updated. So let's say we want to change her age to 22. Update student, her age has been updated to 22. If we reload, you can see it has been updated to 22. So that's it for the update document. What's left now is the delete student. So the delete student will take the ID. Let's look for this button, okay, which is this. So I'll click on it. We should call our delete student and give us the ID of the student. Then give us the student dot ID. Then let's put inside of a function. So inside of here, we can commit and say the ID. We'll use the if statement. Then we'll say await cocoalert.confirm. Are you sure you want to delete this student? We'll ask the question. So if it's true, Then we'll do await db dot delete document, pass the student, okay, the name of the document, student, then comma, passing the id, then no do, let's just try and catch, then coco alert dot success, student has been deleted. Then if there's any error, just console.log the error. So heading back, let's say we try to delete the students. Are you sure you want to delete? Confirm. Student has been deleted. Then let's load documents after. Say load students. If we reload, see that it has been deleted. Then we can actually enter a student. His name is Phil, age is 22, score is 90. Then create student. To create the student, Philip is listed here. You can edit the student, change his name to _121, then update the student, then it has been updated. You can also delete the student. The student has been deleted successfully. So if we reload, so that's everything about building a CRUD with CocoBase. And on the next one, talk about how to filter and get particular students. So I want to show all the male students, want to show all the female students. That'll be on our next video. So thank you for watching this one, and catch you on the next video.